Islam is one of the world's major religions, with over 1 billion followers worldwide. It is based on the teachings of the Prophet Muhammad, who Muslims believe is the final messenger of God. The core beliefs of Islam are articulated in the 5 pillars: Shahada, faith; Salat, prayer; Zakat, charity; Sawm, fasting; and Hajj, pilgrimage to Mecca. These pillars guide Muslims in their daily lives and spiritual practices. At the heart of these practices is the belief in one God, Allah, a fundamental aspect of Islamic theology. Tawhid is the Arabic term for the oneness and uniqueness of God. It comes from the root word wahada, meaning to unite or make one. In Islamic theology, Tawhid is the affirmation that there is no deity worthy of worship except Allah. This concept is central to the Muslim faith, emphasizing that Allah is singular, unique, and incomparable. The Quran, the holy book of Islam, emphasizes Tawhid in numerous verses, such as Surah Al-Ikhlas. Understanding Tawhid shapes a Muslim's worldview and their relationship with God. Tawhid is not just a theological concept. It has profound implications for a Muslim's life and faith. It establishes a direct relationship between the believer and Allah, with no intermediaries. This direct connection fosters a sense of closeness and personal relationship with God. Tawhid also influences a Muslim's ethical and moral conduct, encouraging them to live in accordance with Allah's commandments. Furthermore, Tawhid promotes unity among Muslims, creating a sense of brotherhood and solidarity. Tawhid encompasses different dimensions that provide a deeper understanding of the oneness of Allah. It is the foundation of Islamic belief, emphasizing that Allah is unique and unparalleled in every aspect. These dimensions are Tawhid al-Rububiyyah, Tawhid al-Uluhiyyah, and Tawhid al-Asma wa Sifat. Each dimension offers a unique perspective on how Muslims perceive and relate to Allah. Tawhid al-Rububiyyah refers to the belief in the Lordship of Allah, acknowledging Him as the sole creator and sustainer. This dimension emphasizes that everything in the universe, from the smallest particle to the largest galaxy, is under Allah's control and command. Tawhid al-Uluhiyyah is the belief in the oneness of Allah in worship, meaning only Allah is worthy of worship. This dimension calls for the exclusive devotion and submission to Allah, rejecting any form of idolatry or association with Him. Tawhid al-Asma wa Sifat refers to the belief in the oneness of Allah's names and attributes, affirming their uniqueness. It involves recognizing and understanding the beautiful names and perfect attributes of Allah, which are mentioned in the Quran and Hadith. Understanding these dimensions helps Muslims develop a comprehensive appreciation of the oneness of Allah. It deepens their faith and enhances their spiritual connection with the Creator. It reinforces that Tawhid is about belief, worship, behavior, and understanding. By embracing these dimensions, Muslims can lead a life that is in harmony with the teachings of Islam, fostering a sense of unity and purpose within the community. Shirk is the opposite of Tawhid, the sin of practicing or believing in other gods besides Allah. It is a concept that is deeply rooted in Islamic theology and is considered one of the most serious offenses a Muslim can commit. Shirk is considered the gravest sin in Islam because it contradicts the fundamental principle of Tawhid, which is the oneness of Allah. This principle is the foundation of the Islamic faith, and any deviation from it is seen as a direct challenge to the core beliefs of Islam. It includes believing in multiple gods, worshipping idols, or attributing divine qualities to anyone other than Allah. Historically, many societies practiced polytheism, and Islam emerged as a monotheistic faith to counter these beliefs. The Quran explicitly warns against shirk, emphasizing its severity and unforgivable nature if one dies without repenting. Verses in the Quran repeatedly stress the importance of worshipping Allah alone and avoiding any form of idolatry or polytheism. In the teachings of the Prophet Muhammad, shirk is strongly condemned, with eternal consequences for those who commit it. The Prophet's mission was to guide people towards monotheism and away from the practices of shirk that were prevalent in pre-Islamic Arabia. Understanding shirk helps Muslims avoid it and maintain the purity of their worship of Allah alone. By recognizing the dangers of shirk, Muslims can ensure that their faith remains untainted and that their devotion is directed solely towards Allah as prescribed in the Quran and the teachings of the Prophet Muhammad. The Quran and Hadith provide numerous examples of shirk to help Muslims understand and avoid it. One clear example is the worship of idols, as highlighted in Surah Al-Anbiya. Another example is the belief in multiple gods, rejected in Surah Al-Ma'idah. Attributing divine qualities to humans is also considered shirk, as warned in a hadith by the Prophet Muhammad. These examples serve as warnings to Muslims to avoid any form of shirk. They emphasize the importance of maintaining the purity of worship of Allah alone. By understanding these examples, Muslims can better recognize and avoid shirk in their lives. Shirk is categorized into two main types: major shirk, shirk akbar, and minor shirk, shirk asghar. Understanding these distinctions is crucial for every Muslim, as they directly impact one's faith and relationship with Allah. Major shirk involves direct acts of polytheism, such as worshipping idols or believing in multiple gods. This form of shirk is the gravest sin in Islam, as it directly contradicts the fundamental belief in the oneness of Allah. Historical examples include the worship of deities in ancient civilizations and the continued practice in some cultures today. It is considered an unforgivable sin if one dies without repenting, nullifying a person's faith and good deeds. The Quran explicitly states that Allah will not forgive those who commit shirk unless they sincerely repent before their death. This highlights the importance of maintaining pure monotheism throughout one's life. Minor shirk refers to less obvious forms, like acts done for show or seeking praise from others. This can include actions such as praying to be seen by others or giving charity to gain social status. These subtle forms of shirk can easily infiltrate one's intentions, making it essential to constantly self-reflect and purify one's heart. Although it does not take a person out of Islam, it is still a serious offense that can corrupt one's intentions. Minor shirk can lead to a gradual weakening of faith and a shift away from sincere worship. Therefore, it is crucial to be vigilant and mindful of one's actions and the reasons behind them. Muslims are encouraged to purify their intentions and ensure all acts of worship are solely for Allah. This involves regular self-assessment and seeking knowledge to understand the nuances of shirk. By doing so, one can strive to maintain a sincere and unwavering devotion to Allah, free from any form of shirk. The consequences of committing shirk are severe and far-reaching in Islamic theology. Shirk nullifies all good deeds, as highlighted in Surah Az-Zumar. It leads to exclusion from paradise, condemning those who die committing shirk to hellfire. Shirk disrupts the purpose of human existence, which is to worship Allah alone. Understanding the consequences of shirk serves as a powerful reminder for Muslims to uphold Tawhid. It emphasizes the need to avoid any form of polytheism to maintain a fulfilling and righteous life. Preventing shirk requires vigilance and a deep understanding of Islamic teachings. Muslims are encouraged to seek knowledge about Tawhid and shirk through the Quran and Hadith. Regularly attending religious classes and seeking guidance from knowledgeable scholars can be beneficial. Constantly renewing one's intentions helps prevent minor shirk, such as showing off. Engaging in regular self-reflection and accountability ensures actions align with Islamic principles. Making dua or supplication to Allah for protection against shirk is highly recommended. These guidelines help Muslims safeguard their faith and ensure their worship remains pure and sincere. The relationship between Tawhid and Shirk is one of opposition and exclusivity. Tawhid represents the affirmation of the oneness of Allah, the foundation of Islamic faith. Shirk represents the denial of this principle, associating partners with Allah. The Quran and Hadith emphasize the importance of Tawhid and warn against Shirk. Belief in Tawhid leads to sincerity in worship, while Shirk corrupts one's faith. Understanding this relationship helps Muslims appreciate the significance of Tawhid and the need to avoid shirk. In summary, Tawhid and shirk are fundamental concepts in Islam that shape a Muslim's faith and practice. Tawhid, the belief in the oneness of Allah, is the cornerstone of Islamic theology. Shirk, the antithesis of Tawhid, involves associating partners with Allah and is considered the gravest sin. The Quran and Hadith provide numerous warnings against shirk and highlight its severe consequences. Understanding Tawhid and shirk is essential for Muslims to maintain the purity of their faith and worship. By adhering to Tawhid and avoiding shirk, Muslims fulfill their primary purpose of worshipping Allah alone and achieve spiritual success.